On my Instagram at TimIShow, I asked you guys if you guys have any questions for my lovely guest. And Love received the most amount of questions ever, which I thought was deserving because she's great. So we're gonna get into it, okay?
Okay.
All right. First question. First question. You talked about this a little bit. What are your thoughts on AI and leadership?
Absolutely valuable.
Okay.
Here to stay. Become an expert.
Mm-hmm.
Get in there, figure out how it makes you better. It's not going to replace leadership. It's not going to replace leadership.
Until Terminator,
right?
Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not going to replace leadership, but it will supplement what you do and make you more effective and efficient. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid of it. You know, there's always going to be advancements, and the quicker you jump on that train and begin employing those tools, the better outcomes.
Well said.
Yes.
And that question was asked by Natasha, Professor Palumbo. I did a podcast with her. I think you guys would be great friends. Like, I want to see this connection.
Yes.
She's also just a boss. Like, she's great.
Love it. Introduce us.
Yeah, I will. Okay, next one by Brandon. What are some unexpected / unique traits that make a successful salesperson / team?
Collaboration, right? I think that's the number one. You have to have people who work well with others internally, externally. And people say it all the time, like as a buzzword, right? Like, but it's essential. When people can work effectively with others, they can move at lightning speed. Adaptability, I said it before, I think we have environments and dynamics that are consistently changing, whether it's through technological advancements, whether it's through things that are happening in the economic climate, and a person's ability to quickly adapt is going to be essential to their success.
Okay, great. Be authentic during all that.
Yes.
Right, that's what I learned from this conversation too.
Good.
From Nathan, what is the strategy to make a sale? Engagement, gaining trust, and execution of the sale.
Yeah. So I always think of it as a relationship, right? And so a lot of people in sales will talk about become the expert of your product and features and benefits. And people who've known me over the years have heard me say, no one wants you to come do a show up and throw up. Okay. And so knowing features and benefits of great value as an organization, for you to understand the values that you bring, but be an active listener so you can learn what's important to your prospect or your customer, and then align your solutions to what's important to them. So listen, right? Listen. Take the solutions that you have, those benefits that you talked about, and align them to what's important to them. They don't care you're the best of everything. They don't care you're the largest company. They don't care about any of those things. Only thing that matters to somebody is what's important to me, what's broken in my system, and how does your solution fit into that. And I think if you can do that, because you're then listening to what's important to them and providing solutions for that, that'll help you make that sale, right? And then understanding, for me, I always think about the long term. It's not about this sale. It's about the long-term relationship, because that is where the difference between creating a one-time sale and creating a customer is that you're doing something that benefits them. The solution, you're thinking about it as think of yourself as a unpaid employee to that business. Okay. And if that's how you think about it, think of you as an extension of their team. And when they view you as that, they will consistently come to you and say, hey, I've got this, or I need this. And you'll naturally be the person that they come to because you didn't sell them on something. You provided a solution to something.
Gotcha. So even if you make a smaller sale today, it's okay, because then you have multiple sales in the future.
Yeah, if you've done right by the customer and you've really understood and you're building a partnership, it can start very small. Some of the best customers I have today are relationships that have been vetted and built over time. None of those came in and they were a multi-million-dollar customer, right? They evolved into that through our joint relationships.
Great.
Yeah.
Next one by Priyanka. What do you wish you knew when you started? I guess your career or something, anything.
Yeah. That failure is a part of the game, right? In life, in my career, that failure is not something to fear, that when it happens, when that door closes, another one's going to open, and that every time that you fail, you've learned something. You've learned something, and that active learning will make you better.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yep.
Agreed. Jehangir, if you could be any animal, what animal would you be?
Ooh, okay. See, naturally, people would think a lion in business, but I would say a dolphin.
Okay.
Dolphins are adaptable in environments. They're great communicators, and they have an ability to work together towards a goal. And so I think those are the attributes. And so I'd say I'm a most like a dolphin.
Honestly, I like that better than lion. That's actually cool. Yeah. I like that answer.
Yeah.
All right, by Sean, what motivates you to keep going?
I know we didn't get to touch on it a lot during our time together, but those that know me in my personal life know the importance of family to me and extended family. And so the thing that I'm most passionate about, the thing that drives everything that I do, is to be a really great role model for my own child, but my nieces, my nephews, and all of the kids in our family. But it's my number one driver. It's why I do everything that I do. Every decision, every accomplishment, or any win that I have is because of them and for them. And hopefully it enables, something for them. So it's the thing that I'm most passionate about. Anyone who knows me knows I spend all of my time, and I do mean all of my time, in something, related to one of our kids. And the reason that I do that is it's where I have my greatest joy.
That about you?
Yeah, thank you.
Taj, what businesses are likely to thrive in today's day?
My gosh, I think we've already seen it, right? Like healthcare is still going, right? Public sector. And I think, remembering that technological advancements, although they, people are very fearful that they're going to take away jobs, I think try to think about careers that cannot be replaced, right? So AI and automation help with, some of the tasks. Try to think about things that are outside of that. And so for me, it's what roles and functions cannot be done without input from a human. And so, I think it's still I think about law degrees, right? Not going to go anywhere. That can't be replaced by a machine, right? They cannot. And so it's thinking about those kinds of things.
Okay, next question from Babette. How do you deal with ethically wrong practice in business, especially by your seniors?
Okay, good question. So I think as a personal pillar of my own leadership, this has been something really important to me, right? Of never blurring that line in ethics. And so I really work hard that integrity is the only thing, right, that you have. And so really being clear about that and not ever confusing that. And so when there are either practices or things that happen that blur that, one of the things that I've been a strong advocate for is, using my voice of doing that. And so sometimes it may not be in the best favor of bringing something up, but I think it's really important, especially as a leader, of not shying away to challenge the status quo or questioning something that doesn't sit right. Like I've always leaned in, trusted my gut. Like if there's something going on that doesn't feel right or that doesn't appear right, or something that, an experience that that's just on that borderline, I trust my gut. I say something. And, I'm a firm believer, don't bring something to the table that you're not thinking about, right, a solution. And so it's important to be to me that I am thinking about that level of integrity, right? So because it's a part of who I am as a leader.
Yeah.
And so I constantly listen to that gut check or that voice. If there's something not sitting right, am I going to, address it, and how? I think the worst thing that you can do is stay silent. And so for me, it's always been about openly discussing it and not just shying away from that, right? Even if it doesn't put you in the best light, it's important that you, right? Sometimes people don't know that something's happening.
All right, next question by Gromok. Business equals risk. What do you think?
Agree. You've got to be able and willing to take risks, sometimes to help things move along.
Yeah.
Agree.
Exactly. All right, next one by Karan. Biggest hurdle you've experienced?
Oh, biggest hurdle I've experienced. I think in any organization or when there's a change in leadership, having to reprove your value, your worth. And anytime you have a change in leadership or you have a change in, anybody who is in your chain of reporting, it's having to start that process over. And so adapting quickly, understanding what's important to them. You can't share with them yesterday's successes, right? Because they're entering the journey at a certain time. And so always trying to figure out how you continue to bring that to the table and help them see how you're a valued member of that team.
Wow, good answer.
Yeah.
All right, next question by Micah. What's a better investment, crypto or collectibles for future generations?
Ooh, okay. So this goes again back to risk. So personally, do not take financial advice from me. I'm just going to say this now. Crypto, if you're willing to take bold risks and rewards, right? It can be quick, right? Mm-hmm. So collectibles, if you have interest in things that you're passionate about, yes, all day long. But cryptocurrency for me, yes.
Yeah, cool. Next question by Kirk. Are there any other ventures / goals you have in mind? Are you content with what you have?
So never content with, the status quo. I'm always thinking about what's that next chapter. So I think I shared, right, I have a teenager who's going to be moving on to the next chapter in her life. So I'm trying to think about what are things that inspire me that I want to tap into and what that next part of my journey looks like. I still want to, definitely I will stay in the business space and continue to do that. But on a personal note, I will be doing some fun, interesting things in social media. And so more to come on that, but stay tuned on that. But that's what I'm working on now and trying to build and develop some things around that.
Yep.
And I'm excited about that, right? Again, it's that journey of, as she goes off onto her next chapter, is tapping into some of those things to get me creatively thinking about what's that impact. I mean, we talked about legacy and building that. Yeah. So I'm excited about it.
I know you're going to do great things, and I'll definitely let you guys know when that becomes a thing.
Yeah.
If you guys like this podcast, just think about her own topics and whatnot. I think it's going to be immense value. So
thank you.
Looking forward to that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Next one by Michael. How many times did you fail on your journey, and what sets apart the successful from the failures in business?
Yeah. So I say this all the time. I have failed many a times, and it has always been the precursor to the success. And I have no shame in this, so I'll share this, and I don't even think you know this. So I started my journey, and I started school and in the UC system. And when I had my first quarter, and it did not go well, right? To say the least. I was excited about the independence and excited about the freedom to do whatever I want and staying up late and all of those great things. And coming out of that first quarter, I went on academic probation, and I literally had a counselor say to me, I don't think this is the right school for you. I don't think this is the right place for you. It was not a positive coaching experience, and nothing fuels a motivated person more than when somebody tells somebody like me that you can't do something, because I will go out of my way to prove you wrong. Mm-hmm. And so thank you to that counselor. Yep, Counselor Melanie, because she is the inspiration for why I continued on, went to school and gained my master's degree. Not only was I more than qualified to be at that school, I just needed, some inspiration for that. And so, and even in my career, I wouldn't even say they were failures. I said this before, detours, right? Those detours and those destinations give you such valuable things that make up and prepare you for the path you're supposed to be on. And so I wouldn't say, don't think of them as failures. Think of them as stopping points to your ultimate destination.
Good. And then is that what sets apart the successful from the failures? Don't take it personally, just improve. Growth. I hear commonly in business, growth mindset. It is
and don't let that, the people that will get stuck will be the people who fail and say it can't be done. Gotcha. And for me, it's I failed, so there's a better way to do it. Yep. So that wasn't the right way. There's another way.
Passion and willpower. Mm-hmm. Next one from Ryan. How do you balance long-term vision with short-term goals?
Ooh. So I think this is a big one. I think all leaders struggle with this, right? This is something you have to tackle, right? You need current metrics, right, are necessary. Those short-term goals, the really managing to the key performance indicators, because they're necessary to accomplish long-term goals. And so for me, it's about understanding, hey, what's my strategic vision for my team? Where am I trying to get them to go? Mm-hmm. And what are kind of the milestones that we need to hit that long-term vision? And so while I manage to the metrics and the expectations that an organization might have, I also am thinking about, what are those gates and those stopping points that we have along the way. And so you're managing to hit that long-term vision, those milestones, and creating places for that to happen. Gotcha. So you have to be equally cognizant of both. You'll never hit a long-term vision by not staying focused on the short term. But if you don't, right? And so they're both equally crucial. You've got to weave them together for success.
Do you have to cater one towards the other for a certain amount of time before you can change that?
Yeah, I think if you're not hitting short-term metrics, you'll never get to this long-term vision, right? Okay. And so I think that you have to build, hey, are these the right metrics, the right things, and do they align to that long-term vision? And how do they align, right? Gotcha. So I think that you've got to be mindful in executing current things to hit that long-term goal. Okay. So without it, you can't.
Yeah. So for example,
stepping stones, right?
Yeah, if you want to be an account executive, focus on your numbers. If you want to be a management, focus a lot on helping people.
Yeah. Well, and I think you still want to build in, okay, hey, here's my long-term goal. I am looking to be a leader in X amount of time. How do I take immediate success, right? No one's going to look at me if I am a D performer, right? How do I become, what are the attributes that I need to gain now, the skill set I need to gain now to become, top of the class? So I'm putting into practice the things that are going to be necessary later. And then how am I diversifying myself? There can be a lot of great people, right, at that same level. And so if my goal is becoming this, how do I set myself apart, right? And so it is networking, building those relationships, doing those things. You can do all of those things while still focusing on the metrics and hitting results. Yeah. And so you've got to kind of weave those together to hit that long-term goal.
Gotcha. Okay, get short-term tools to add to your toolbox for your long-term
success.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, last question, also from Ryan. What advice would you give to young professionals trying to find purpose in their careers?
So there's a big misconception that the first job you do is going to be 100% making an impact and having value, or it has to align to how you foresee that making impact. And so I said this earlier, if somebody thinks about my career today and they go, well, how's she thinking she's making an impact? She sells paper and pen, right? I recognize our contribution is much greater than that because we're helping people impact the bottom line. We have all of those things. And so finding value and making an impact in your career can be done in so many different ways. It can be in a leadership capacity, it can be in a role capacity, you serving as a mentor, it can be any of those things. And so don't be so tunnel visioned about what that is, but be open to the idea that you will have impact and you will make value, be of value and create a long-lasting impression or impact with others. And you don't have to be in a certain job or a function to do that. You can do that anywhere.
What if it's like your job? Like what if it's like your passion? Say for example, cooking, like being a chef, like, or like an artist. Like, would you just say like you kind of just gotta like, do what you gotta do until you find an avenue, opportunity to be able to do that, or like do it as a hobby? Like I guess it's like
I would almost say that it can be done simultaneously, right? Like sometimes you won't have the privilege that you can just say, hey, I'm only going to nurture this. Mm-hmm. And this is why the power of social media, right? Like this is where it comes into play, right? You can still continue to share, build, and be able to share your gift with others. Mm-hmm. And we're in a unique time that you can do that. And so I would say, don't put it on a back burner. Mm-hmm. Figure out how you weave that into what you're doing in everyday life and continue to do that. And so while you may not be able to do that because you don't want to be a starving artist, maybe you have a function and you figure out, and I'll use a great example of somebody I know who goes to UC Davis. They're working at a coffee shop, but his passion is art. So he talked to his coffee shop about doing an art show with his stuff while he's a student, right? So I think it's finding out how do you weave it into what you're doing today so you don't give up what you're passionate about. We're in a time where people are making careers out of things that they're passionate about, right? And so I think, go all in into what you're doing and figure out a way to integrate those worlds so you can pursue your passion.
100%. That's great. That's great. Social media is super powerful.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all the questions I had for you today. That was so much fun. I really enjoyed that. I hope you guys also enjoyed watching this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you, as always. And best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
The Dim Eye Show.